Good morning, 1 Million Cups. Good morning. Yeah, thanks. Has everybody checked in on their 1 Million Cups app? It's really awesome. It's really easy. Don't forget, Kyle, check in. You can also rate your presenters on the app. By the way, I'm Luke. I'm one of the community organizers, and the other amazing community organizers are right here with me. Who's here for the first time? Raise your hand. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Don't be shy, Northeast High School. Welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're not familiar, 1 Million Cups is a community organization put on by the Kauffman Foundation. We let 2 entrepreneurs or startups get up here, talk for 6 minutes. We open it up to our expert panel, and then we open it up to you guys for questions. Like I said, you can always rate them on the app after they're done as well, give them feedback, things like that. That being said, let me introduce our one expert panel, and the other one, I believe, is on the way.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Gomez. I'm the president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Greater Kansas City. We're the 10th largest chamber in the metro with 580 members.
And Kim is on her way. All right. With that being said, let me introduce Trisha with Crossing Arrows. Let's hear it for Trisha.
Good morning. Can you hear me yet? Okay, good. You don't think it's on? No. It's on? It's on. Okay. I'm just going to hold it in my hand. So, good morning. My name is Trisha Steffes, and I'm the founder and CEO of Crossing Arrows. Before I really get into our story and tell you about our business model and why we're doing what we're doing, I wanted to start off with a video. Maybe.
Okay, Daisy, here we are in Tesco's. What do you think of the clothes on offer today?
Well, the girls' clothes say, hey, beautiful, I feel fabulous. The boys, desert adventure awaits. Think outside the box, hero.
And what do you think about that?
It's unfair because everyone thinks that girls should just be pretty and boys should just be adventurous.
And what do you think about that?
I think that's wrong because why should boys and girls clothes even be separated? Because we're just as good as each other.
That's brilliant. I agree with you completely, Daisy. And you love adventure, don't you?
Okay, so as Daisy, 8 years old, said, she's frustrated because the children's clothing these days is, faces gender stereotyping. And which is one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. Crossing Arrows is a clothing line tailored to what we call the spirited girl or the tomboy, the girl that likes adventure and risk-taking and is courageous and confident. And we started our company as a result of our inspiration, Allie. She's my 5-year-old daughter. At 2.5 years old, she came to me and she said, Mom, I do not want to wear girl clothes because I'm tired of pink and daisies and princesses. I want to be a superhero, and I want to be strong, and I want to jump off things and run fast. And at first I wasn't sure how to navigate her desire to wear boy clothes, but I realized, you know what? The clothing that is in the girls section, she's right. It doesn't offer what she wanted. It doesn't offer the type of clothing that suits her personality and her drive. So after 2.5 years of navigating this desire for her to wear boy clothes, I decided to design a line of clothing that goes beyond having to shop in the boys section. Our business model, we currently have 3 designs that is about to go into production. We have samples made. That's our raglan t-shirt dress, a bomber jacket, and a pair of what we call drop crotch pants. It tailors to that more free-spirited style that little girls like, to be able to run and jump and play. We also are sourcing from a company out of Shenzhen, China, some leggings that are graphic leggings that allow the girls to express themselves through superhero graphics and arrows, and we have several designs that we're working on. We have sample makers in New York and Chicago. Our consultant out of Chicago also helps us source our products, our fabrics and our trimmings, and we work with manufacturers in Chicago, New York, and now China for our leggings. And then beyond this, we decided to move forward with a line of graphic tees, which actually we're most excited about right now. We feel like the graphic tees are really going to bring in the quicker revenue. They're going to speak to the girls a little bit more through some of the sayings that we're putting on our shirts. So we've partnered with H&H Bandwagon, which I'm sure many of you know. They're down in the Crossroads. They are the partner for Charlie Hustle and the Kansas City Children's Mercy, Big Slick, and the Boulevard Brewing Company. So they're very well known in our community. We're partnered with them. These are some of our initial graphics that we're going to have on our shirts. We're working with their graphic designer to kind of add a little bit more to them, and we should have those actually by the end of today. The beauty of working with a local company is it takes about 2 weeks from the time we give them our idea and they put together the graphics, and we produce 2 weeks to have shirts in our hands. So we're really excited about this. As you can see, some of our graphic tees, Princess marked out tomboy, and donut holes, not gender roles, and be adventurous, critical thinker, history buff. So we currently have about 16 designs in the pipeline. We're going to roll out 3 to 4 at a time. Market size. I have 2 market sizes here. One is wholesale, one's retail. We are going to initially target on the retail, selling direct to customers, but we also want to focus on wholesale. In fact, we just landed a meeting with the buyer at Target to talk to them about potentially carrying our line of graphic tees. They're really excited because about 2 years ago, a mother raised quite a fuss because they didn't have enough clothing that did tailor to the desires of other little girls and little boys. So they're really interested in talking to us. As you can see, the wholesale market revenue is about $71 billion, and retail is about $7 billion. We do have some competition, as everyone does. I love Steve Jobs' quote, "You can't look at the competition and say you're going to do it better. You have to look at the competition and say you're going to do it different." And that's what we're going to do. We have an exceptional team of girls, and we're going to continue to grow that team. We're going to really focus on providing what these girls want. I'm the founder and CEO. We have Kelsey O'Brien, our designer, and Hannah Kowaleski, our marketing manager. But beyond clothing, we are going to focus on our passion, which is child advocacy. So we're going to tie together an entire business model surrounding clothing these children and offering a philanthropic component that I'll talk more about here in just a little bit. What do we need to succeed? We want you guys to go crazy. Share our company on social media. Tell any spirited little girl about our company or parents that you know. And we are about to launch a Kickstarter campaign in about 2 weeks, so your support would be welcome. I will open it up to Q&A.
All right, let's hear Patricia. Let's switch it up. All right, go ahead.
Okay, test. All right, Tricia. First of all, congratulations. So, I think it's a great idea. I just saw a story recently on how toys have been pushing young girls into a certain mindset, and it took a mother to make a major company, a toy manufacturer, to say, why are you doing this? And they've since taken that particular toy off the shelves.
Very nice.
So I think it's a unique product line. My question to you is this: my brother and I actually used to own a clothing company back in the 90s, and it was a different focus. But I'm going to ask you a question. Your distribution on the wholesale. How are you going to get that word out as far as, are you looking at mom and pop little shops that are niche clothing stores? You talked about a Target. What is it that you think will be the key success for you in there?
So we don't limit ourselves. We believe that the world is our oyster. We are going to go after the big hitters, and we're also going to focus on the small mom and pop shops. I listened to Sarah Blakely's podcast recently on Spanx, right? And she said she landed the Neiman Marcus deal after one phone call. And she talked to people who said, "How did you do that?" I spent 7 years at trade shows trying to get a meeting with them. She said, "I called them up." And that's what we're doing. We're calling people up. We're reaching out. We don't feel like there's anyone we can't talk to. There's no one that we can't reach out to. And so, we do want to start small to make sure we grow efficiently. But we will, and this Target deal, hopefully something will come through with that, but we will continue to reach out to those companies that we want to carry our line. So both boutiques and larger retailers.
And then the other question I had is, you said were they manufactured here or in China, or just
So-
the leggies in China?
Just the leggings in China.
Okay.
So, and here's why. So we've gone through the sample making process. To produce this one sample domestically is around $2,000 to $3,000. To produce in Asia 3,000 pieces at 80 cents, we can get the same deal. So for budgeting purposes, it made more sense to take our leggings overseas. The raglan dress, bomber jacket, and the drop crotch pants, we are trying to keep domestic as long as we can. They're there. We're working primarily with a manufacturer out of Chicago and New York. They are partnered with our consultant out of Chicago and our sample makers. So they have a relationship, which I like because they've already worked with them. They help source products, trimmings. But yeah, eventually, I mean, we'll see. We definitely want to make sure we're smart in the approach with our business. So we may end up taking more overseas. It just depends on how it all works out.
Awesome.
No, that's okay.
We will open it up actually to the audience for questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll come around with a mic. Who wants to go first this morning? Anyone? Okay, how about me? So I know you were involved with maybe at least one other business.
Yes.
How does that play into this at all? And how do you split your time between running a couple of businesses?
Yeah, so I was in finance for 12 years. I've had a clothing line tailored to tall women since 2014. And one thing I've learned is I wasn't taking big enough risks. I wasn't getting outside my comfort zone. I got back into finance because I was uncomfortable and I liked the convenience of having benefits and a steady paycheck. But in July, I decided, you know what? I have so much passion and enthusiasm for where this is going that I quit my job. 2 little girls I support, but I believe in my company that much. And so not working full time and in another industry and focusing does allow me to. Eventually, I'm phasing that out and focusing solely on the children's line because not only are we excited and not only is the market bigger in children's clothing, but we really want to tie in our passion for child advocacy. I'm heavily involved in child advocacy organizations throughout Kansas City. I actually did some nonprofit work in the finance industry. And, you know, I knew when I was in high school I wanted to do something that tied in the child advocacy component and passion. And I believe that this business model is going to allow us to do both clothe children and help get rid of the gender stereotypes that exist and also help feed kids, help children who suffer abuse and neglect and adoption work. We really want to tie that into our business model as well. So that's why eventually I want to phase out the tall women's line.
Okay, question here in the front first.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Alrighty, so congratulations. This sounds fantastic.
Thank
I
you.
would love to, I definitely see this as something with potential on social media.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, or on which channels have you guys targeted your brand towards?
Yeah, so I know what my weaknesses are, which is marketing and social media, and that's why we have 2 wonderful ladies on the team as well. We do have Twitter and Instagram, Facebook. I really want to put a push on video through YouTube and even Snapchat. My little 5-year-old she's hilarious and she's funny and she's very open about how she feels about little girls that, you know, don't play sports and little girls that are running around in princess outfits all the time, which she loves, but she's so athletic and she's so driven and confident. And I'm pretty sure she has more confidence than most adults I know. And so capturing that and putting it into video form and other little girls who feel the same and really expanding that is kind of the avenue that we want to take.
Another question for you here.
Yeah, I love it. I have
Thank
2 daughters. I love it a lot.
Thank you so much.
So I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
I particularly like you got a message,
Uh-huh.
and I would like to know how you select those messages. And so I guess you must be giving some thought to what are the unmet needs. So one of my daughters the other day, she's an 8th grader, she says, Dad, you and I set a long-range plan where we go windsurfing on the Sea of Galilee.
Oh, wow.
I said, well, you're thinking big and you're thinking adventurous. So I want to nurture that
Yeah.
in her. And she's in 8th grade, and I would hope that you do this for more than just 5-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
What's your age range, and how do you select your message?
I'm so glad you asked that. So we are targeting about 3 to 12-year-olds, just until we really understand and capture our audience, and then we'll expand. You know, we evolve with our business. We learn as we go, and I believe in business you follow your intuition. And that's what I've done with this. So, one thing that I don't want to push with our business is I don't want to push the feminist agenda, because I don't necessarily agree with it. So we want to make sure we're careful in how we do word things and how we do present our business. But you know, I get inspired so much by Allie, not just in our designs, but in our message. And I trust it'll change over the next 12, 24 months. But we want to make sure that girls know that they can pursue risk-taking and being courageous and confident. And I'll tell you why. Little girls, for so long, have been taught to be protected and kept safe, to be comforted, and little boys are, you know, brush it off, get up and keep going and take risks and jump off that couch. And, you know, and I think it translates when we become adults. Women take less risks than men. Women maybe don't always pursue their dreams as much as men, and I think it starts when they're little. And so we want to make sure that we're teaching girls it's okay to take risks. It's okay to jump off things. I mean, my little girl will stand on like the 10th step of our stairs leading up to her bedroom, and she'll just leap. And my dad like has a heart attack, and I'm like, Dad, let her do it. Let her explore and have fun and take risks. And we really want to make sure that we push that. But I also feel that we want to be careful too. I don't want girls to think that when they grow up they can't be stay-at-home moms. I want them to know that they can be whatever they want to be. And I think that's the most important job in the world. But we want to make sure they also know that if there's something they want to pursue, pursue it. If they want to ask for the raise, ask for the raise. If they want to, if there's something that they're passionate about, go for it. And we want to make sure that we translate that in our business model. And right now, I don't necessarily know exactly what that's going to consist of, but we will find that message and we'll make sure that we present it loud and clear.
Question in the back.
Yes.
Exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You were talking kind of briefly over the messaging that you want to do from a philanthropic standpoint.
Yes.
Is that something from a cause marketing side where you want the message to be forefront, or is that something truly from the back end that because you're doing this, you're going to be able to give and then you'll tell everyone about it later? Like,
Yeah.
is it forefront or in the background?
So both.
Okay.
I've ran this past some people and some really important people, and one that's in the crowd here. And I was told, you know, really focus on getting the business going before you put too much focus on how you're going to grow that philanthropic side of it. My goal and dream is to create a foundation or partner with foundations that really, not only focus on the child advocacy of hunger and abuse and adoption, but maybe creating inspirational events where these girls come to and we teach them that it is okay to be fun and to be courageous and bold. So, but I also do want to include that in the marketing at some point when we really wrap our head around the business model and what direction that we're going. So I hope that answered the question.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tricia. I have a quick comment, and then Luke has a question.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Perfect. Tomboy, now 30. So in 1993, I was like rocking the basketball shorts down to the mid-calf, oversized tees.
Oh,
like,
me too.
Really
Yeah.
working my options. So really excited to see that, you know, the young tomboys nowadays don't have to go through that torture. So
Yeah, thank you.
those pictures they're rough. Luke?
Can you wear gym shorts one week, please? Okay. So I love the idea. Obviously, the feeling behind it, the message is amazing. My question is more of the business. It sounds, and sorry if I missed this, but it sounds like you're just going into production. You said you quit your job. You have 2 people working with you.
Yeah.
How are you funding this? And essentially, how long does that last? Are you looking for investors? Talk about the business side of
Yeah,
things.
of course. So one thing I learned with the Tall Women's line is I thought you had to have everything ready. You had to have everything out of production and spend a fortune and then go to the market. What I realized was you create the sample, then you create the buzz, and then you figure out from there how many runs are you taking into production. So you really help manage your costs a lot. So I have been blessed financially with certain situations in my life that allowed me to have cushion in the bank account to take the plunge. I think that we're supposed to be uncomfortable. I think that every entrepreneur and small business has a story. And right now I'm really uncomfortable. I'm really at that point where I have two wonderful, incredible, amazing women who are on board with me, and I'm supporting them, and I have two little girls, but I think that you go for it, and the doors open, the resources fall into place, and I believe that. As I mentioned, Sarah Blakely, she Spanx, the youngest female billionaire in the United States, right? She failed the LSAT twice, so she went into selling fax machines for 7 years. And then she came up with this idea of Spanx. She was told no for 2 years. She was rejected by sample makers every day for 2 weeks straight. She had $5,000 in her bank account to go with. She finally got a call from a manufacturer who said, okay, we'll do this. She called up Neiman Marcus before she ever went into production. She didn't even know what her packaging was. She landed at 7 Neiman Marcus deals, and she was like, all right, here we go, $5,000, that's all she had. And so she figured it out, and that's kind of what we plan on doing. We do hope our crowdfunding campaign is successful. If it's not, we'll figure something out. But I believe that having the prototypes, having everything lined up, and then going into production is what is going to really help us catapult forward. So.
Question in the center.
I love your messages, and I love your social entrepreneur approach.
Thank you.
You're targeting young girls who are going to wear these, but the buyers are likely their mothers.
Yes.
Do you understand the attitudes and behaviors of the buyers, and how are you going to work with those attitudes and behaviors?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even know why I didn't mention this. So one other component of our business is we're building a community of parents. Because as those of you who have raised children or are raising children know, it's hard work. I mean, it's not easy. So we're really going to get into our consumers by building our community of parents saying, we're here for you. We know it's hard, but also make it fun. And we all have really fun personalities. We like humor, and we like to tie in. We wake up every day with an attitude of, you know what, we're choosing happiness today, and we really want that to reflect in building these community, but through our blog, through social media, through our packaging, everything that we're doing is tailored to more of the parent, quite honestly, because they will be the ones making the purchase. The clothing is for the children, but our message that we're really putting out on our blog posts and some of our social media is to capture the parent, telling funny stories about something our kids did or how frustrating it can be. Because I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but everyone makes parenting look so easy. It's wonderful. And you go to these great events and they're post perfect, but what you don't know is 10 seconds before that, the child had a massive screaming fit and the parent would have pulled their hair out. Or, you plan a fun vacation and like half of it's stressful because, the kids, and that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about how fun and wonderful and amazing parenting is. We're talking about the hard stuff and the stressful stuff, and we're making it light and fun. And so that's one way that we're targeting our consumers.
Okay, I have another question for you. And you just described my summer vacation. I took my sons to the British Virgin Islands. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so is there room for, you talked a lot about the children, and again, I have 2 young sons, and I see them battling with the stereotypes as well, be brave, be strong, don't cry.
Yep.
And, is there an option for a boys line inside of this?
Yeah, actually, the more research I do, the more I realize that is an issue for boys as well. Some boys do want to be sensitive and loving. And I saw this great shirt. It said, a little boy was wearing it, it said, "Love is my superpower." And I thought that's so great, because little boys can love, and they can be sweet and emotional as well, and that's okay. So I think what as any business evolves, we will make sure that we're open-minded and that we're open to evolving as well. So yes, that's definitely not out of the question.
Tricia, thank you so much for your awesome presentation this morning. We all needed this ray of sunshine. Yeah, round of applause. Let's do it. Our final question, what can we as a community do to help you?
I love that question. So I personally am not one to ask for help. In fact, I think I'm immune to it. But we do want your help. We want your help in sharing our Kickstarter campaign when it goes live in 2 weeks. We want your help in sharing our story and just being supportive if you have resources. We're open to ideas. We're open to suggestion, to critical criticism, any of that. Our Twitter handle is here. If you jump on our website, you can contact me directly. I have business cards. So yeah, open to ideas.
Awesome. Thank you. Another round of applause for Tricia, please. Excellent. If you haven't yet, be sure to sign in to the 1 Million Cups app. Also, in the back of the room, there is an announcement sheet with a lot of important stuff on there. We have a couple of announcements coming up from the community, but before we get there, because it's my birthday, I get to go first. Yeah,
happy birthday, Kyle.
After you're done celebrating my birthday today, you can start celebrating Global Entrepreneurship Week, which starts here in Kansas City tomorrow. So 11/10 to the 22nd, there are about 100 events going on all across Kansas City. So please be sure to go to gewkc.org to see all of the events and start signing up. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up. One of those fun things is Co-work for Good, and Melissa is going to join us to tell us a little bit more.
Good morning, Kansas City. Who has tried co-working before? All right, that's not enough hands. So next week you have an opportunity to try co-working out during Global Entrepreneurship Week. I'm the chair of the Kansas City Co-working Alliance, and what we are doing is called Co-work for Good. So in exchange for coming to work for the day at participating KC Co-working Alliance spaces, you give a donation to Sleepyhead Beds. And Sleepyhead Beds, if you've not heard of it, is a great organization in Kansas City that gets beds and bedding to kids in need. So it's all on GEWKC. Every day we have an event. So sign up there and choose the space you want to work at. You get to work at a different space every day. So thanks for participating.
And next up, Jeff Shackelford with Digital Sandbox KC.
How many stayed up really late anticipating Kyle's birthday? Huh? Did we all? Right? There's no post-election hangover here. How many have heard of the Digital Sandbox? Come on, we need a lot more hands than that. Okay, we're a proof of concept program, helps early stage entrepreneurs move from, idea to working prototype. We provide project funding up to $25,000. We do not want equity in your company. We don't want you to pay us back. We want you to get in business and create jobs. The reason how many have seen me up here before? So we're gonna have a pop quiz, right? Where did Alibaba make its first U.S. investment? And who was it? And how much? $100 million, okay? And who sold for $3.2 billion? Bats, another Kansas City founded company. That's our mission, right? We're gonna tell everybody we see around the world that you can do everything you want right here in Kansas City. The reason I'm taking up precious time this morning, we announced a couple of days ago a partnership with Sprint's Pinsight Media. For those of you that may be trying to develop consumer-based apps, so those mobile apps that need to target the entire consumer world, we're partnering with Pinsight. You can come to the Sandbox. If you can convince our evaluating team that's a great idea, a great team, we'll help you with our funding, then we'll hand you off to Pinsight, who will help you continue to get that development done, and then also market you to the entire mobile consumer space in the United States. So it's a great partnership. Sprint, again, stepping forward to help us out. So if you know anybody, or you guys, or you young folks, by the way, great ideas know no age, know no ethnicity. 33% of all the projects we funded were by companies founded by women. 22% were by companies founded by minorities, and 17% were founded by companies that started by veterans. So we like the diversity. So bring your ideas forward, particularly consumer-based, because we'll get you to Pinsight, and they can make it happen, and you can get marketed to the 300 million cellular phones in the U.S. Sorry, I took up more time.
You're good, man. Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Great. Yeah, KC. And one more thing before I turn it over to Matt. I'm really excited to introduce you to my friend and our second expert panelist, Kim Randolph.
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. Had a crisis. That's what happens when you're an entrepreneur. So I'm going to say this. What is Global Entrepreneur Week without a happy hour? All right. You know you got to have a happy hour. So
they're high school students.
Oh, you guys don't get to be happy. Actually, the Multicultural Business Coalition is an organization that was developed last year. We're a year old. We have a board. And on November the 14th at 7 o'clock at the Grand Street, we will have a happy hour. So all except the high school students that are anyone under 21, please come and attend. You can go on the website, and it's the multicultural. If you go on the Global Entrepreneur Week, you can find the happy hour. And just go ahead and sign up. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. Plenty to celebrate. And let's have a warm welcome for our next presenter, Matt with the Job Spectrum.
I'm Matt Blake. Let me switch on my mic. Sorry about that. I don't think I need one, but is that working? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm Matt Blake. I'm an artist first and creative consultant, advertising consultant. I was born here in Kansas City 50 years ago this Monday, so it's my birthday too. So, kinda. So, you've heard the tired cliche of thinking outside the box. Whoa, holy cow, that is sensitive. Hang on a second. Let me use the arrows. This is an outside of the box idea. I want you to put on your thinking caps. I'm going to be teaching you a new game of procedure, which I am confident will create opportunity locally to globally. So pretend I'm James Naismith explaining basketball to you for the first time for a Kansas analogy. Or you can pretend I'm this guy trying to explain jump to conclusions to you, if that's an Office Space joke, if anybody. Thanks for the courtesy laughs. I've discovered this idea through my artwork, and it's a gumbo of an idea, so there's really nothing new here. It's just a different recipe made up of pre-existing ingredients. I'm a generalist before it was hip, which means I know quite a bit about many subjects. And as a generalist, you can connect the dots. You see the connections between things that most people wouldn't see. Sometimes the connections are clear. Other times they're very hard to see. So with that being said, here's a synopsis of what the Job Spectrum is. I'm going to go over what the Job Spectrum Survey is and the problems it addresses. I'm going to tell you what the Job Spectrum Survey procedure is, and I'm also going to tell you how the Job Spectrum generates income. So what do we consider labor? This is Andrew McAfee. He is the TED Talk that I saw 3 years ago that really solidified the problem I wanted to address, and the Job Spectrum is a solution to this. In the future, McAfee says, we'll be able to solve all our problems through ideas and innovation. But McAfee in his TED Talk doesn't tell any solutions. He's just a digital optimist, and he says we'll be able to just solve the problems in the future. The Job Spectrum is an example of what the potential jobs of the future could look like, and they don't look like this, but not yet. So there's more and more people, less and less opportunity. How can we design something that's more inclusive for people that could also, in time, compensate jobs that are necessary but woefully and unfairly paid? So introducing the Job Spectrum. The Job Spectrum is the world's first shared labor, shared revenue, advertising, and marketing mechanized survey. It works kind of like a Nielsen ranking service, except for ranking television programs. The Job Spectrum ranks the different jobs or professions we do. So how do you become a participant in the Job Spectrum? There's 3 steps. You sign up, you enter your personals, your name, your address, and your birthday, and then you align yourself with a guild or the different professions. The Job Spectrum calls the different professions we all do. It arranges them into guilds. So we're starting with 21 professions or groups or guilds to start. This is one way the Job Spectrum uniquely divides participants. The other way it uniquely divides participants, which is novel, is we use the zodiac sign by your birthday. The Job Spectrum uses your birthday as a benign way to further divide the participants with the other element groupings of your sign. So you'll vote with all the other earth, air, fire, and water signs. So what the Job Spectrum does is assigns value monthly through a survey. The 3-question survey is designed to assign value to the different aspects of our respective professions. The importance of the job to our society, the skill involved in performing this job, and the relative ease, desirability, and physicality of performing the job. So let me click on that. Oh, hang on, this doesn't work. Well, anyway, you only participate 3 times a year, but you receive monthly compensation because, oh, it's spinning, okay, good. Because the other element signed groupings are working while yours are not. This division of shared labor within the Job Spectrum creates variety, novelty, and compelling content generation. It's 3-dimensional. See, it moves forward and stacks like a staircase. Why advertise on the job spectrum? That's a good question. It's like, how does this thing make money? Up until now, media buyers, sellers, and producers and owners of media channels are the only ones that benefit from advertising. The job spectrum turns this philosophy around to benefit the viewer of the advertising, the participants who take the survey. 61.8% of the media buy after taxes goes into a monthly purse split between the professions according to the monthly survey results. It's dimensional thinking. So basically, the participants are paid to fill out the survey 3 times a year and watch all the advertising within the job spectrum survey, or they can skip it, but they'll get penalized for it. So it works kind of like a golf tournament. The scores from the monthly survey determine the amount of the ad revenue split each profession or guild receives collectively. The shared revenue part of the job spectrum, the monthly results of the survey itself point a money hose to the professions or guilds that score the highest. In my opinion, and see, this is the data they create. It creates like a score sheet of where the different guilds fall in time. In my opinion, this is the job spectrum's biggest selling point. The process assembles this index of data just like the stock market does. The data index uses this mathematical equation. This is called the Mandelbrot set. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this is fractal. The data index uses this mathematical equation as a lattice on which the results will virtually embed, hang, and display. These results will create tons of content for discussion and examination and promotion. A lot of content. So what are the benefits of putting a mechanism like this in motion? It repurposes pre-existing, annoying, and marginalized concepts such as advertising and surveys. People hate advertising, and people hate survey even worse. But this is kind of a 2 negatives into a positive. It redefines what we think of as work or labor, and it also creates an index or lattice of opportunity. This is like the starting point, like a connector or the glue that can connect business. A recognizable analogy for you to relate to is CrossFit, and I don't want to go over my time, but CrossFit didn't exist 10 years ago. But its founder and inventor is a guy named Greg Glassman. He took pre-existing concepts, a bunch of exercises, and he repurposed them into a gamified setting that fit a need that those that were into exercise and working out didn't know they had, the need to compete through advertising. In my humble opinion, the best trait and beauty about CrossFit is that even though it's competitive and they're out there competing against one another, if you ever watch a CrossFit event, they're all rooting for each other to do their best, and they're not like trying to kick each other's butt. They're all trying to, do the exercises in the best possible light because, it has that soul or conscious that's injected into the CrossFit events. This is what today's business world is sadly lacking. We're all in this together, but we're all competing with each other and trying to drive each other out of business. I don't know if that's the smartest thing. This is the potential I envision for the job spectrum. It can have the same effect on the world of business by spinning this altruistic mechanism of repurposed advertising. The conscious capitalism movement is gaining momentum, and this is the perfect audience for a solution like the job spectrum, a way to inject altruism, opportunity, education about the jobs we do, and consciousness into the world of capitalism where there's a desperate need. There are many diagnoses in the problems of the world and very few tangible solutions. All the technology exists for something like the job spectrum to manifest. Like anything worth doing, the public needs to be taught the possibilities, vision, and procedure. Do we have the willpower to make this happen? After last night, I say we do. It is my hope that you see the potential in the job spectrum that I've presented to you today. Thank you very much.
Okay, can you tell me, great concept. Can you tell me?
It's a little wacky.
Yeah, I really want to know exactly who are you going to target, though? Who are you targeting?
Well, right off the bat, probably millennials. I think that they're looking for, they've got their traits that are good and bad, but they're looking for something a little bit more. And this is designed to be a part-time endeavor. You don't quit your job to join the job spectrum. This is something you do instead of playing Words with Friends all year long, 3 times a year. You've got 90 days between the 30 days you have to do to fill out the survey. So that's kind of one of the things that, the millennials are the ones. But it's like any business. And it's like anybody who wants to contribute into building something. This is going to build an index. And it's going to hopefully grow organically. And we'll be able to, it's kind of like a barometer. So anybody that wants to try something new in their spare time and maybe make a little money to start, that's the target.
Okay, and then what are your marketing strategies?
Well, right now, I make pretty pictures. This is kind of what I do. I'm an art director, and I can do I'm not the best at presentations, but I can, make your presentation look fantastic. But how I'm going to market this, I guess, is through word of mouth. I was going to do a Kickstarter. I was going to do a GoFundMe, but I saw people that would try to launch that and do that, and then they hadn't built up their following to where they launched the Kickstarter and then try to get people to come in. Right now, I'm kind of like a man on an island, and I've got 120 Twitter followers.
You had the analogy with what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Correct.
And actually, I just have a new member who different concept, but paying people to read articles. It's a really interesting concept.
Right.
And then sort of the same though. My question to you is going back to what comes first, the chicken or the egg. To sell the advertisement, you need the participation, and to get the participation, you need that. I mean, the two go hand in hand.
Correct.
So. At what point, like 1 year from now, what's that optimal level that you need to have 1 million users or 20,000 users? What is that point that you could say, okay, this is now where I need to be to sustain a profitability?
Okay, so I'm making something out of nothing, okay? I've had 2 beta tests, and the mechanism works great. The design of it works great. It's all runs, like a well-oiled machine. It's just that, and since it's based on, the design of this thing is based on the structure and laws of nature. It's governed by the laws of nature. So it can work at any size. This isn't like a pyramid type of a thing. It's more of a spiral, and this is like a spiral staircase. So the way this is designed, I can do this till I'm 85 years old by myself with just family and friends, and then give them nickels and dimes every month, and it'll work, okay? But I think the excitement that this can cause, if people are out there, hey, let's try something new. This is something that's kind of unique. And here, I'm going to advertise with them because I give them money, and I have no control where that money goes. It's not going to go in the media pocket or my pocket because I own the website. The business model for this thing is that the media buy for ads, which will be, it'll be so inexpensive right now to buy ads on this thing because there's hardly any participants, and there's hardly, it's just sitting there. So it can work at any size is the short answer to the question.
Okay.
So it can be, it can be a local thing.
It could be 100 people, it could be 100,000 people.
Right, and the analogy for this is like plants. Right now it's a teeny tiny cactus that has barely any water and no branches. But the job spectrum works like nature. The job spectrum itself is the trunk of the tree. The branches are the guilds. The leaves are the participants. Filling out the survey, that's the photosynthesis. The monthly display is the flowering, and then the monthly payoff that you get into your account is the fruit. So sometimes the fruit will be little bitty berries, but I think since it's virtual, everybody can get a pineapple at some point once a month. You know what I mean? So this isn't going to pay for your mortgage, but you know what? It might be able to pay for a vacation. Yeah. Plus, there's all kinds of other ways you can do. People can put points in here. If I can go back to the slide here. How do I get out of here? Well, anyway, I've got a slide in there that I can show you if you want to come up and look. There's so much secret sauce in this thing. That's been my main problem with trying to articulate this idea, because this idea came to me through my artwork, and it kicked me in the head. I had it fully formed 7 or 8 years ago. And then how do I talk it to people? This has been my main crutch. So.
Well, I think you're doing a great job as far as millennials, because that's the target base that will use technology and
I think they'll get it.
Yes.
I explained it to my friends. Right. I explained it to my friends, and they're like, "What?" But then I explained it to kids who are 25, like, "Oh yeah, cool idea, dude." That kind of stuff.
No, I do think it's a great idea. I think the key is finding that marketplace, the millennials, and getting the funding to market to them.
Right.
I think we're going to open it up to the audience, so if you have a question, please raise your hand.
I got one right here.
Hey, Matt, great
Hey,
job.
thank you.
So I had the good fortune to see Toby Rush take iVerify to great heights, selling it for $105 million. When I saw or when I heard what he was doing, there was a lot of uncertainty. He didn't really know where this thing was going, and he tells a great story about the pivots that he had over time. There's a couple of things that I'd like to ask you if you've thought of. Number one, patenting this. Number two, is this an opportunity to partner with somebody like a Toby Rush, because iVerify was not his idea.
Right.
It came from UMKC. So have you thought about those two things, finding somebody to help you out grow this thing?
So I moved back here from Chicago. I was in Chicago for 12 years, and my wife and I moved back here last year. I belong to Co-Founders Lab up in Chicago. This is a lean startup thing. I got that book. I can't remember the guy's name. I mean, I've launched this thing. I launched this thing in March of this year, March of on the equinox, I'm open to any and every possibility. I mean, for me to fine-tune this messaging for this presentation, for me was, a Herculean effort on my part. And I have a painting called King of Procrastination. It's a self-portrait. So, I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tear equity into this thing. Patent-wise, I filed for it's called a paperclip patent. There's 3 stages of patents. There's the wood fort paperclip patent, and then there's the brick fort, the next step where you kind of lock it down, and then the third step is the stone fort where you've got you own the intellectual property. Since this is an idea that hasn't been physically conceived into a back-ended website where I am running the actual technology for this thing, I can't patent it. So that's one of the needs that I have. I'm looking for people who can help me ones and zero this thing into physical manifestation. But the way I did the survey, so I've got my Job Spectrum website, which is a proto site, okay? Then I built the survey in Google Docs. And Google Docs keeps trying to upgrade me to the new one, and I don't want to upgrade to the new one because the old one works. So I've got a link that I just tweeted out to this. You can go and sign up and take the survey now. So you can go check it out, and it's got a little bit of an explanation in the survey of kind of telling an older version of this presentation. But as soon as I can get the intellectual property for this thing knocked down, where it's built behind my look and feel, then I can file those intellectual property stuff.
Question on your right.
Hi.
I need some help clarifying what it is that I'm doing. So is the labor taking the survey?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so if so, how is that different from like e-rewards or some of those other applications like that?
Well, it's kind of the same thing. Businesses who advertise on the Job Spectrum, whatever they want to do, if they want to reward points or if they want to, make miles or something, this is kind of like an accumulation thing where you take the survey and you let your account build. And then when you want to pull the credits or the Bitcoin or the money out, you pull it out. So it's, if you want to receive that every month and you get, $5, $10, $20, that's kind of how I envision it working. But, we're going to work with whatever, money's money, credit is credit. So we're going to work with whatever, there's all kinds of applications out there that are built that can just hopefully just plug into this idea through their ads. And, this is kind of like a launching point for one of the things is that advertisers can use this, specified group. It's kind of a captive audience. They're looking at ads on purpose. Now, they're not fast forwarding through them, you know what I mean? So businesses can use the Job Spectrum to try a new campaign or specifically target specific guilds. That is their target market. Google already does all this stuff through algorithms.
Question right here in the middle.
Will you be sharing data and insights with these businesses that that advertise?
So, yes, I will publicly, there's two sets of data, okay? There's the publicly, hey, look, here's how the things scored. I can't get to this because it's not on my screen here. Here's how here's how, here's the results, here's what we're going to talk about. But then there's another set of data in the back end that is going to be available for a subscription fee. That's kind of how I envision it. So businesses can pay a monthly fee to have all the data. And when they pay that also, 61.8% of that goes back into the kitty. So this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, folks, okay? This is something, democratized collectivism is what it kind of is. Because you're scoring, I think one of the panic buttons that people press when they see something like this is like, oh, how's my profession going to score in this thing? Oh my God, no one wants to be an insurance person. So, because in the first data set, insurance was like down at the bottom. But the way this is built is that it's an opinion survey. We can drive this thing, and we can drive it through the messaging that occurs within the job spectrum advertising. Guilds will be able to advertise to other guilds to say, hey, this month, let's reward teachers. Next month, let's reward garbage men. In December, let's give the Hospice Nurse Guild more attention. And you can always rank other guilds low that don't need the money. I mean, the professional guild with doctors and lawyers, do they need to do this? Not really. So score them low to give the points to the guilds that deserve it. The working man, those kind of guilds.
Another question, you're right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of crazy, right?
It's so crazy, it just might work.
Well, I at least believe that I might be smart enough to understand that the line between crazy and brilliant is a pretty thin line.
Right.
And while I don't understand all of this, my company uses surveys. That's what the core of our company is. Use surveys to give data to companies to help them make smarter decisions.
Right.
And so I see the value in that. One of the things that I don't understand two things that I think are critically important. One is, what is the value proposition that you're going to communicate to someone to get them to care?
Right.
Right? And because somebody brought up that you can take a survey for money. That's not a novel concept. It's been around forever. So if that's the case, then if you can create, because I think you're right, this could be a self-sustaining type of an entity, which is kind of fascinating to me.
Right.
But I don't think it's possible unless you create an internal economy, right? So if you can create an internal economy for individuals to be able to generate revenue for themselves, now you might be onto something.
Right.
So have you thought about that? Is there a way that you could, because if you could do it, it'll take off and it'll be organic.
Right.
Right? Because all you have to do is tell the stories of a few people who, I only worked a few hours passively and I made this much money.
Right.
Right? So if you can, can you see a way that that could potentially work?
I think what you're touching on is guild management or profession management. Okay, one of the things I've been wrestling with is, why are you calling them guilds? Well, it's because a guild is an associated, Screen Actors Guild. I mean, Hollywood uses it, so the rest of the country, just doesn't work that way. But if you've got a bunch of people who do the same kind of job, they're going to network with each other. They're going to know, hey, there's a lot of jobs in Seattle. If there's a lot of people in Cleveland that are looking for work that do what we do, come to Seattle. I mean, that's going to be kind of a pivot point within the job spectrum where the guilds are going to manage themselves over here, branching out, and then they're attached to this point, which is the job spectrum in general. So the branches will, self-prune and, bear fruit within themselves. The guilds could even, the members of the guilds could even branch out their own, survey within the survey. That's the Mandelbrot set. That's the whole idea behind this thing. This is it's fractal. So if we learn what I'm trying to do through my artwork, this is my art. This is my installation piece, right? So what I'm trying to do to address your point is I'm trying to show if we think fractally, okay, we can change our thinking the way about business and create pockets, branches of opportunity to where this thing can grow and be macro in size. I think of it kind of like, this is the ketchup on the Twitter and Facebook and, Instagram hamburger, but it could also be, the plate that holds all three. You know what I mean?
So many food analogies. I should have had breakfast.
I know. That's, it's
I got a question back here to your
Go
left.
ahead.
Hey, so as a millennial, I think maybe I get it, but just clarifying question. So was there like a moment that you felt, or do you believe that like some jobs or some guilds or something like are valued, but that the money isn't reflecting that? Is that something that you're
Very
trying
much
to-
so.
Okay.
I think that,
And when did you first get that idea, and what like inspired you? Because just from personal, like I almost was like a vocal performance major. Like now I'm a journalist, but I sort of quit music because I was afraid of not having any money. And like, so
I have the same story.
so it's like, it's just interesting because I've seen a lot of the pain from creative, especially millennial creatives that think that they can't do what they have come like on this earth to do.
Right.
So is that something you were thinking?
Very much so. This is a way, everybody knows someone who's a musician who works at Starbucks or at Chipotle or whatever, right? And they work their job to pursue their passion. I was going to be a BFA at the University of Missouri, and that used to be in my presentation. And I quit being a BFA because I'm like, hey, I got to take girls out on dates. I need money. So I'm going into advertising where they pay me. Because I had a mentor at Mizzou who graduated before me. He came back 2 years later, and he's like, I've printed out 100 resumes. I've went everywhere in town. No one wants to hire an oil painter. So I mean, I didn't understand the concept of starving artists. You actually have to create a body of work that people find interesting. It might take till you're 50 or 60 years old. So I've thought about it. Good for you.
Go Tigers.
Poor Tigers. Poor Tigers.
All right. Matt, we're wrapping up here. I have two quick questions.
Sure.
One is selfish. What do the signs have to do with this? And we only have 1 minute.
Okay, so the signs, it's a benign way. The front answer is it's a benign way to divide the populace that we haven't thought about before. It's like if you look at soccer, this is again another analogy. In the leagues around the world, the soccer players play for their club teams, but 4 times a year, or every 4 years, they stop and they go back to their home country and they play for their country. The job spectrum is the opportunity for the professions to, quote unquote, play for their country. They're playing for their profession.
So is there a guild within a guild? So I'm like, hey, I'm in account management, but I'm also a Leo.
Well, right. So you're touching on what kind of data this is going to create. What if it's like we figure out there's 10,000 people in the Bakers Guild and 85% of them are Sagittarius? That's blowing my mind. You know what I mean? This is the kind of data that you can get excited about. It's like, well, then why are they all born in, December and January? That's so weird. This is the stickiness in the content, to use 1990s words, that this type of thing can generate.
Rock and roll. So what can we as a community do to help the job spectrum?
You can follow me on Twitter. I have a job, so I work 40 hours a week. So I've been so slammed trying to get this going and keep my job going and stuff. But if you go on Twitter, there's a link to the survey. Take the survey. You can take the survey even though your birthday's not a Scorpio, you're not a water sign. Just go ahead and take the survey, and I can, through the power of Excel spreadsheets, I can maneuver you to where your answers will come out at the time of year they're supposed to come out. And, if anybody wants to talk to me about funding, the best case scenario was someone would give me a lot of money to fund this for a year, and then I could just start paying people through the advertising and then get this thing going to where we've got 1,000 people in it, and then maybe it would start attracting some attention. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your help. At the Job Spectrum.
At the Job Spectrum. Follow them. All right, guys, thanks for coming out today. This concludes 1 Million Cups. We'll see you all back here next Wednesday. Next week's presenters, PointWorks Academy and Mycroft. So have a great week.